Hey there, it's Donna McKenzie. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you wanted to experience weightlessness, you'd have to be either an astronaut or a very rich person like Jeff Bezos, who recently did. And that is until now. And my guest is Matt Gohd. He's the CEO of Zero G Corporation, which is a space tourism company offering the experience of weightlessness to everyday Americans. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me.
So how did Zero G get off the ground, pun intended?
So to speak. So Zero G was started a while ago by a NASA astronaut, a NASA scientist, and an entrepreneur, a guy named Peter Diamandis, who went on to start X Prize and a lot of other amazing ventures. And NASA had trained astronauts using a plane that did what are called parabolic flights. And they would take astronauts up in these parabolic flights to get them to feel what weightlessness was like. And their thought was this would be a cool thing to offer consumers. And like all really great ideas, it was a bit early. It took them a while to get the plane certified by the FAA. It is the only one that the FAA has certified to fly Zero G. And, for the last pretty much 15, 16 years, company's been kind of at it in a small way. And then myself and my team kind of took this thing over 3 years ago and started to reimagine how we could direct this amazing, untoppable experience. And now, we'll probably fly 90 plus flights this year all over the country with consumers, train astronauts, do groundbreaking science, as well as people. And we did a weightless wedding not that long ago.
I saw that on your website. Weightless wedding. Wow.
Wedding. And, as well as team building and branding opportunities for companies. So it's come a long way in the last 3 years.
You have trademarked the Zero G experience. So what is the experience like?
So the experience is you're going to come up on our very customized Boeing 727. It's a commercial airliner. 2/3 of it is hollowed out in front and pads and 6 rows of seats behind. You'll sit in the seats. The plane will take off just like any other normal commercial airplane. And then once it gets up to about 20,000 feet, you'll come and you'll then be in this big open chamber. You'll lay down. The plane will pitch up at about 50 degrees. And at the top of that, you'll start to feel weightlessness, and you'll be floating and spinning and doing somersaults, just the exact same thing as if you were on the ISS or orbiting the Earth. We have numerous astronauts that come up on our flight as well as train them, and they'll tell you it's the exact same feeling. It's not all the time on our plane. It's in segments, 30-second segments, 15 times. But it is the exact same feeling.
So what does it feel like? I know you've experienced this many times.
I've been on the plane a few times.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a very undefinable way to explain it. It's not like anything anybody's ever done. It's not like skydiving or neutral buoyancy and scuba diving. It's none of those things. You're literally floating on air. You're suspended in the middle of the plane, and it's only you're kind of pushing yourself against a wall that allows you to move.
Wow.
So I'll give you an example is that when you're upside down, you don't know which is which, the top or the bottom, because the blood is not rushing to your head.
So how gradual is it when you get back into the gravity zone?
Well, so basically, it's a transition. You go from pulling G's to zero G's to basically G's again. And, again, it's sort of, I hate to say it like a roller coaster because it's nothing like a roller coaster. But, again, you're kind of going up at the top, you're floating, and then you're coming down and doing it again.
So how much weightless time does a passenger get during the experience?
So you're going to get between 8 and 9 minutes, and to kind of compare that with Jeff and Richard going up on either of their what are called suborbitals, you'll get about 3.5 minutes of zero gravity with them. You'll get an amazing view for sure. We're not offering a view, but we're definitely focusing you on what it feels like to be in space. Hence why we do a lot of research for NASA, MIT, and other major universities to basically, for that reason, is this is what it is like to be in space.
What is some of the research that you are doing?
We've done all sorts of interesting things. We did first the 3D printing of a human heart in zero gravity, which enabled now that 3D printer to be on the International Space Station, literally printing anything and everything that they need. We just did an experiment this last year. There's no ice on the International Space Station, so we did a project with a freezer on how a freezer would act in zero G and what it would need to take to operate. So we've done all sorts of biomedical research. We've done all sorts of research on how fluids act. We actually did a project on how pandemic viruses act in microgravity. So, every year we have 3 multi-week sessions of nothing but research being done on the plane.
That is incredible. That's incredible. So take us through the day. So say I bought the package, bought the ticket. What is the day like?
So you'll come in, you'll check in, we'll say in Houston, which is where you are. We'll be at we'll be at the airport. You'll go into the lounge. It'll be literally just like checking into a commercial flight. We do fly as what's called a commercial airline. So we do follow all the same procedures as you would flying Southwest Airlines. So we check you in, we give you your own flight suit, which is kind of cool. We basically feed you a bagel, which we strongly recommend you have. And whoever is working the flight, if it's me or any member of my team, will get up and give you an orientation of what your experience is going to be like, do's and don'ts. Don'ts would be, don't try to swim in the plane because that might create what we call subnominal experience for the person below you. Do's, take it easy, get a feel for what it's like in this radically changed environment and kind of ease into it. And just, relax and have like the most amazing experience a person can have. So we'll go up on the plane then after the check-in, board the plane, again, flight attendants will do the same safety briefing as on the plane as you get in front of you on your commercial airline. Plane will travel for about 20 minutes to restricted airspace. And then once we get into restricted airspace, we'll start flying what are called parabolas. And a parabola is really just like kind of an upside down U. And where the plane goes up towards the top of that U is where you feel weightlessness. And then as the plane kind of tips back over and comes back down, you feel gravity again. And then we do it again. And you really can't tell the difference between what it feels like when the plane is going up or going down. You don't know.
Wow. Is the plane outfitted exactly like the one that NASA uses?
Yeah, it is. It's basically, it's a different aircraft. NASA used was called the KC-135, which was the old Boeing 707. But it's basically the same. It's a hollowed out 2/3 of the plane with pads all around, and then 6 rows of seats behind for passengers and crew to sit while we're going to and from where we're going to be traveling.
Wow. Just an incredible experience. And so now, all you have to do is just buy your ticket. So what does that cost?
So it's $8,200 plus I think 5% tax. And again, to give you perspective, to go up with Jeff Bezos out of West Texas on his rocket for his 11-minute ride, I think it's about $1.5 million.
Wow.
About 3 minutes of zero G time, and you do get this amazing view with Richard Branson on their rocket glider that'll go up out of the New Mexico desert in Q1 of next year. That'll cost you a little under $500,000 for again amazing view in about 3 minutes of zero G. Or if you really got some bucks, go take a ride on Elon's Dragon and go to the ISS for $60 million, where you're going to have 11 plus days
Wow.
of gravity.
Right.
So those are the only options you have to basically have this feeling.
And yours is the only commercial service in the world to offer it.
we're the only one that actually is accessible, that you can actually kind of go online, go to our website, go0g.com, pick a destination where the plane's going to be. Yeah, this fits for me. Houston, LA, New York, Kennedy Space Center. Buy a ticket, show up, and again, have the most Instagrammable post that
you would win Insta for sure. That's terrific.
You will definitely be an Insta star with everybody you know.
So I read on your website that the passengers also get to experience a little bit of lunar gravity. So explain that.
Yeah, so we start you off with, so again, we're doing those 15 of those U's, which are parabolas. The first 4 will do what it's like to be on the moon. And I'll give you an example what that is like. So on the moon, if you say go to do a push-up, and you give a really hard push-up, you'll kind of float up a bit, and then you kind of like gently float back down. If you do that in 0G and you push up really hard, you'll float all the way up to the ceiling before you stop. So lunar gravity is good because A, we can identify with it. We've seen one small step for man, one giant step for mankind. So you can do that, which is kind of fun. You can do push-ups with one arm. I mean, I definitely would not be confused as a bodybuilder. I do push-ups with my pinky. And things like that, and again, it's really, really fun, and it also gives you a feel what it would be like to basically be on the moon. And then after we've done 4 of those to kind of give you some, idea of what to expect, then we'll do 0Gs, and that is again like a whole different thing. That is, you have minimal control over where you are, what you're doing, or anything else.
Yeah. I have to ask about the bagel because. Affectionately, the NASA flight training like this, the craft was affectionately known as the Vomit Comet. And my dad actually trained on it. And so I've heard some stories. So does the bagel help?
So there's 2 major differences between what your dad did and what, say, you would do. So on that NASA plane, you would go up for 50 to 60 parabolas. And that would be off-putting for literally almost any human. And their goal was very different than ours. Their goal is to push you way past your comfort zone so that you do have an adverse effect so you can, accept it and work with it. We do 15 parabolas, a fraction of what astronauts would have done back on that plane. So it's very different. And the people that have adverse effects on our plane ranges about 1%. We barely get one person a plane that will have what we call a subnominal effect.
When did you offer your first commercial flight?
So the first commercial flight was offered, I think, in like mid-2004. And again, it was primarily, when they rolled it out, was for research. And then I think in 2007, Stephen Hawking came up on it, which kind of shows if somebody says, well, am I capable of doing it? Well, if Stephen Hawking can do it, I kind of think anybody can do it. And then in 2010, it became a little more commercial. And then when we took over in 2019, we really, kind of changed a lot of how we operated the business to make it much more accessible for more people throughout the country.
How do people connect with you?
So the best is our website, again, go0g.com. I would also recommend go Google us. I think one of the funner ones is if you Google Al Roker, Zero Gravity. They did a 6-minute segment with us on the Today Show. We've been on CNN, CBS, you name it. We've been on every major network and every major newspaper, because again, it's the only real accessible way to feel what it's like to be in space. So I would say go look at some of the kind of fun things that are stories about us, and then our website is there if you want to come join us, and we'd love to see you. It's for those that really want to have the ultimate experience that you will remember forever. This is it.
You are having a blast, aren't you?
I have 70% of the time I have the coolest job in the world. 30% when things we'll say are not going exactly right, it's the opposite. So, but
that's a pretty good balance.
It is, and I'm lucky to have such an extraordinarily capable team that basically every time somebody does an experience, whether it's in Houston or Oakland or New York, it is basically, they will come back and say, this is the most amazing experience I've ever had, and your team is extraordinary. And I am blessed to have such an extraordinary team working with me.
And speaking of your team, who is on the couch?
So
He just came and walked up and just jumped up. It's so cute.
yeah, so that's Izzy, and Izzy has not flown in zero G, nor is there a plan for him to do that. But he is a major cheerleader, and he makes appearances when he is in town for flights. So he provides added entertainment when he's there.
Thank you so much for talking with us. This is fascinating.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and have and cool. Stay cool. Hopefully your AC will continue to work over the next.
Knock on wood. Yes. Thanks so much, Matt.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Find Zero G online and check out all those great videos too, and go have an out of this world experience. I'm Donna McKenzie. Thanks for joining us.